Hi everyone, today I'm going to compare these two desk pens that I bought on eBay a few weeks ago. They have just arrived. This is the Pilot desk pen. This is actually a fountain pen, and this is made by Platinum. So let's take a closer look at them. These two are rather long fountain pens, so I'm not able to keep them in my pen rack. They are a bit too long for that. So it would jut out like this. This is the Pilot desk pen. It measures about 18.5 cm, and this Platinum desk pen measures about 19 cm. I think they are called desk pen because you can actually buy a pen holder where you can put the holder on the table and then place your pen like this. It will be tilted up at an angle. So maybe that's why they are called desk pen. But when I bought them like this, they only come with the cap and the body, and the cap has no clip. But here, the cap is designed in such a way that it prevents the pen from rolling around. So if you put the pen on the table, it will not roll off onto the floor, which is great. Now the construction quality of these two pens, well, they are mostly made of plastic. The Platinum pen has more metal parts. So at the end here, this is probably metal, and this part here is metal. And note that there is no ink cartridge provided, so some of these pens may or may not be sold with ink cartridges. If you want to use your own ink in the future, then you should probably get the ink converter. The Platinum pen uses the Platinum ink converter, which looks like this. So you can put it in like this very nicely, and this is how it looks like. As for the Pilot desk pen, it uses the Pilot converter. This is the Pilot Con 50. So this is how it looks like when it's empty. This Pilot converter is the twist type converter, same as the Platinum converter. There is a larger converter for the Pilot, which is the Con 70, but this is not able to fit into the desk pen, so do not get this. You should get the Con 50. These two pens are very lightweight. They have a very long body that tapers to a very small diameter right at the back. They hold very nicely in the hand. The finishing is glossy, it feels nice to hold. The nibs are extra fine, so the lines that you can get are going to be very thin. I'm not sure what metal is used for the nib, but it's probably steel. The design even looks quite similar. I'm not sure if you can replace the nibs or take out the nibs though. Be careful of damaging the pen. I've actually damaged my Pilot fountain pen already because I put it in my bag. Since my pencil case was too small, I put it in the side pocket and I accidentally pressed down on it, and this part here actually cracked. So now I have a hairline crack here, as well as inside here. So be careful when you place your pen in the bag. These two pens are made in Japan. Let's take a look at the model number. This is the Pilot DPN-70 REF 700. And this Platinum one is the DP-1000AN. And this character here is black, so I think they probably come in a lot of different colors for the body. Let's look at the lines from the Pilot desk pen. I'm using Noodler's bulletproof black ink. This ink is waterproof when dry. Nibs that produce extra fine lines like this are great for cross-hatching. The pen is quite smooth. It has a tactile feeling on the paper, definitely, because this is still quite a sharp nib. So there's definitely going to be some feedback. Ink flow is quite good. Let's overlap the lines and see how they look. So if you draw quite quickly, you can get really thin lines. Because the nib is so fine, if you do a lot of layering, a lot of cross-hatching, the paper fiber may actually come off the surface, which is what is happening right now. I'm not sure if you can see it, but some of the paper fiber has actually came off on the surface of this paper that I'm using. So if you like to do this kind of artwork, then I would recommend you use better quality paper or just cross hatch a bit slower. So this is the Pilot desk pen. Let me switch over to the Platinum. I'm just going to put the lines side by side so that you can compare them. Now the Platinum desk pen has the same tactile feeling as the Pilot pen. The lines are equally as thin. Ink flow is fantastic as well. Ink flow usually isn't that much of a problem because it doesn't use a lot of ink. The nib is quite stiff, so there is no flex. Let's see what will happen if I press down a bit harder. You do get slightly thicker lines, but this is about as thick as it can go. So if you want the hairline, you can draw very quickly. If you want slightly thicker lines, if you want the lines to be darker, then you can press down slightly to give you more pressure to get the darker lines, or maybe just draw a bit slower. In terms of performance, there really isn't a lot of difference between the Pilot and the Platinum desk pen. Let me switch over to using the dip pen to let you see the difference. So this is the dip pen. The lines are also very thin. Now when I look very closely, it seems that this line might be slightly thinner compared to the Pilot and Platinum. It's just a very slight difference. Of course, with the dip pen, you can press down harder to get much thicker lines. But you have to constantly reload this pen when it runs out of ink, like it's doing right now. And now I'm using a Namiki Falcon with an extra fine nib as well. It says here on the nib it's SF, so I'm not sure what that means. Super fine, perhaps. This is quite thin too. This is a Falcon nib, so I can press down hard to get thicker lines. So there really isn't a lot of difference when it comes to the Platinum versus the Pilot pen. Now I'm going to use the pen to do some drawings. I like to use pens where the lines are thicker. When I use this desk pen to draw, it feels like I'm a different person. It feels a bit weird when I see the lines are so thin. Later on I'll be using another pen just to draw this same picture that I'm drawing, just to let you see the difference. The nice thing about this pen is, since the nib is so fine, you can add in a lot of details where you want to. And as mentioned earlier, this is a fantastic pen for cross-hatching purposes. I don't cross-hatch a lot because it requires a lot of patience. So I really salute those artists who do a lot of pen and ink art, who draw with the classic style pen and ink art. Those are really patient artists. And now I'm using a Sailor fountain pen with a zoom nib. So this nib has a very thick line, and the difference is quite significant, as you can probably tell. So because of the thick lines, the lines themselves, they become some sort of element, some graphic element, and they draw a lot of attention to themselves because the line is so thick. Your eyes are just going to be drawn to the thick lines where the contrast is going to be. And thick lines like this, they are not as good for cross-hatching compared to thinner lines, because once you do maybe 2 layers, you can get a very dark tone, whereas with thinner lines like this, you can get several different values. But you should definitely choose the style that you want and then use the appropriate tool that you have. So you don't really have to use such thick lines. I actually prefer thick lines like this. Alright, let me show you some other drawings that I've drawn with the desk pens. This was drawn on the train. Even though I did not use the thick lines that I like, I still like how the sketch turned out to be. Here's the other page. Let me zoom into this part here. These 2 characters were drawn with the desk pens. The lines are very thin. And I ran out of ink halfway, so I switched to a different pen. The lines here, they are much thicker, so they look slightly different, even though my drawing style is quite similar. I feel that when drawing with thin lines like this, the drawing looks a bit more delicate. This was drawn with the desk pen. I like to use thin lines like this to create additional textures. And this was drawn with another pen. These 2 pens are relatively inexpensive, although you have to spend a bit more to get the ink converter because they may or may not be sold with the ink converter. But overall, I think they are quite worth the money, especially the Platinum fountain pen, which I like a bit more compared to the Pilot one, because this part here, it uses metal, so it's a bit more durable. And that's all for my review today. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section below. If you want to get a pen for yourself, I will post some links in the video description so that you can see where you can find them. And one last thing is I have just created a new playlist on YouTube for all my fountain pen reviews. So if you want to check out other fountain pens that I have featured, the link is also in the video description below. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Bye!